So recently I released a video on the nCamp wood burning stove where I recorded some of my initial thoughts. Based on some comments viewers have left, I thought I might follow up on that video using wood pellets. So if you're interested in seeing how that works out, stay tuned. So it's a cool 1 degree Celsius here in Halifax right now, so I'm going to work a little quickly so I can get my hands warm. So I have talked about using wood pellets before in other videos, especially with the Solo stove and the other wood gasifier stoves and a few of the other stoves. And I find that they do actually make a viable alternative fuel for days when you're out in the woods and you can't get enough dry wood, or the wood is not quite dry but you want to dry it out so it'll burn better. Starting your fire with the wood pellets does seem to be a good alternative. So what I have here is 2 cups of hardwood pellets, and I'm going to place them in the chamber. I have some fire starter, which I'm just going to light with a lighter, a gas lighter. Place it on top, try to bury it a little bit in the pellets, and give it some time to see how well it will ignite. So I have not done this before. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but that's what this test is all about. All right, so I'll just put the wood pellets in. 2 cups of wood pellets may take up most of this chamber. In fact, they do. Well, that's all right. There's still a little room at the top, and I'll give you some close-ups in a few minutes. I'm just making a little well with my fingers so that I can bury the fire starter down inside. Likely this will take a few minutes before it becomes well established, so I'll probably start the video, let you see it getting started, and then cut away until it's well caught. What we'll do at that point is I have a kettle, actually the same one I used in the last test out on the woods. Give that a chance to get established as well before I push it down the side. So the same kettle that I used out in the woods, and I have 2 cups of water sitting at, well, outdoor temperature here, whatever that is. So once we get the fire established, assuming that it burns well, we'll put that on and see how long it takes to come to a boil. So this might take a few minutes. Even the wood, the fire starter, is not starting up all that well. So just burying it down, using the tip of my knife to kind of work it into the pellets a little bit. I could have used all alcohol. I've done that in the past, or another gel fuel starter. Those would all work, but this is what I chose to use today. So what I'll do is I'll cut away, come back in a few minutes, see how the pellets are going, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes since I first lit the fire starter and dropped it inside. I wanted to make sure that the fire starter was pretty much consumed and the pellets were well engaged before I added. And there's still some fire starter that's not burnt out. All right, but the pellets are engaged. But here's what I'm noticing. The flame, while burning cleanly at this point, is not very intense. Certainly not the intensity it had once hardwood and even the softwood got going inside of it. I think that may be the nature of wood pellets in this type of stove. It does not have the airflow that a lot of the other stoves have through the bottom. I find pellets work very well in wood gasifier stoves because they're burning from the top, and of course that's where the wood gas is released and reignited with the fresh mix of warm air coming through the jets at the top. So they're ideal for wood gasification stoves. This type of stove, I don't know that pellets are the way to go. Certainly if you have to wait 15 minutes for your pellets to be engaged, that's not a good start. But so the pellets are engaged, they are going, you can see the flames. Let's put the pot on and see what happens. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. Immediately I've cut down the airflow significantly. So the pellets, which normally burn very cleanly, are smoking. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, but let's see what it looks like underneath. And the flames are still there. So the wood gas is remaining, but what you're seeing is unburnt wood gas, of course. So yeah, a lot of smoke. All right, like before, I have my titanium cross stands. Let's put those on and see what happens. There we go. And good airflow makes all the difference. So there's no smoke happening. You know, looking underneath now, and the flames are touching the bottom of the stove, but like I said, not with the intensity it had using hardwood. I don't think I'm going to get the best time in the world for a boil, but let's start the timer running on this, and we'll see what happens. You know, if we don't get a rolling boil in 8 to 10 minutes, it just says a lot about whether or not this is a good fuel to be using out in the woods in this stove. But I'll wait a few minutes and we'll see what happens, and that's when I'll bring you back. All right, you know, it's only been just 5 minutes, and 3 times in the last 5 minutes, small downdraft puts the stove out. I was able to reignite it by blowing on it like that, but that's not very good performance, is it? And I don't think the water's even a little warmth in the water, but it certainly at this point should be just about at a rolling boil. It would be. There you go. See, the pellets have gone out again. Now when I look down inside, they are smoldering, and they might provide a grilling heat, but they're just not continuing to burn. And I think that's directly related to the airflow through the pellets. And I think as the deeper the pellets burn down into the chamber, the less clean air is coming in, because there is no ports on the sides of the burn chamber. Well, folks, I'm going to call this test, and I'm going to call it a fail. But let's wrap this video up. Okay, you know, I can't say I was completely surprised. I knew from the design of the stove that the deeper burn chamber would tend to cut off airflow at the top, and when there's no holes, no ports around the top here, there's no way for air to be reintroduced into the pellets like a wood gasifier has. So I can't say I'm completely surprised that it didn't work out with the wood pellets, but that's why we do these tests, isn't it? Had it worked out, it would have been a nice alternative to take with you into the woods with this stove. Oh, by the way, here's a small thing I hadn't really thought of before. I still had hot active wood pellets in this I wanted to put into a pile of earth to pick so I could close the video up. You're able to pick this stove up by the legs, as long as you're careful. You're able to pick this stove up by the legs while it's still in operation and move it if you have to move it from one spot to the other. Of course, better to do that with wood gloves on it, or work gloves on, leather work gloves, but it can be done. So that is a small benefit to the stove. All right, that was wood pellets. Not a good choice. How about charcoal? And that's what I'm going to do in a future video. So stay tuned for that video, and until I have that one out, get out and explore. Take that path less traveled. It'll make all the difference. Bye for now.